Hey there YouTube, it's Venomsamurai again. Just decided to try a few new things. I got one thumbs down on the last episode. To whoever it was that actually gave me the thumbs down, I understand that you didn't like the video, so if you could just tell me what it was about it that you didn't like. I mean, I did kind of put that in the comments in the info section. You know, if you guys don't like my videos, that's fine. I mean, I don't expect everybody to like them, and I guarantee you, I probably don't like certain aspects of it. First off, I don't like how crude these are. I mean, I don't really have a lot of experience with editing software, so uh, it's one of those things to where. Uh, this is how I'm doing them because I honestly am doing these the way that I know how. If I get more experience later on, then I'll learn how to use editing software and I'll learn to edit in clips and this, that, and the other. But this is the purest form of review for me, and this is me expressing myself truthfully. As you may notice, I'm wearing a different mask this time. I decided that the other mask was a little too goofy looking. It's not a bad mask, don't get me wrong. I like that mask, personally. I love to wear it around Halloween. But this one, first off, it conceals my face better. And secondly, I think it allows you to put whatever face on me you want to put on me. You know, you the people on YouTube are the ones that I'm making these videos for. I'm not making them for me. I mean, if I was making them for me, I wouldn't post them. But today we're going to talk about something different. Like I said in my last review, I'm going to review a lot of different stuff. I'm not going to just review comics. I'm not going to just review movies. I'm not going to just review any of the stuff that everybody else is reviewing, because you already have people that already just do one thing. Me, I like to try to be my own person. So today, I am going to talk about my top 5 favorite animes that I have on my shelf right now. And when I say on my shelf right now, what I mean when I say that is I have a bookshelf, and this bookshelf has a rotating roster of DVDs, and these are DVDs that I watch on a pretty regular basis. Pardon me, I've got a little bit of a cold. As you may have also noticed, I've kind of ditched the somewhat goofy aspect of my video where I was kind of asking questions of myself, which was kind of silly. But what I will try to do is I'll try to stay on topic as best I can. I will mention that I have a slight disorder that allows me the ability to kind of go off on a tangent, but my mind's kind of like a lazy Susan. It'll eventually come back around if you just give it a second. So let's start off. First up, my 5th most watched anime that I have on my shelf at this moment is Slayers. Now, this is a relatively old series. I mean, it wasn't even new when I first watched it. It was probably, I want to say that the DVD was released round about, let me see if the copyright date's on here, 1995 was when the copyright was originally released. And you can really tell the animation is very dated looking on it. You can see the pencil lines and everything, but that's the great thing about it. You can see that this was actually hand-drawn. This was not done on a computer. And the animation shows that. It shows very traditional animation in the Japanese style. That being said, and I do pardon for my breaths. Like I said in my last video, I do have a bit of a problem with breathing. And that comes mainly from being overweight. And as you can see, I'll step back a little bit here. I have a bit of a weight problem. I own that. I won't step away from that, but I will say, if you're just gonna troll me about my weight, let me ask you a question. How often do you eat at McDonald's or Little Caesars or Wendy's? And then talk to me about my weight problem when you talk to yourself about your weight problem. But getting back to what we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is my favorite animes. And with Slayers, this one kind of holds a special place in my heart, because this was the first anime DVD set that I ever bought. And it has been with me for almost 10 years. That's right, this little box set has been sitting on my shelf. I refuse to actually remove this from the shelf because this holds a special place in my heart. This was the very first DVD box set that I ever bought of an anime. And this is the complete series. This is the complete series of the original Slayers cartoon. And I'll give you this. It's a very standard dungeon fare. And what I mean when I say dungeon fare is just basically it's swords, sorcery, dragons, werewolves, this, that, and the other. But it's done so well, because I just love the character of Lena Inverse. She is so wonderfully greedy. I mean, she is just so beautifully greedy, and that's my fifth favorite that's on the shelf right now. My fourth favorite is going to be this, Shadow Skill. Now, this one is also a little dated in the style. Now, this one that I have here is a Japanese reprint of, it's a reprint of the original Japanese DVD cover, but it's an actual DVD set. I do want to point that out. This was not copyright infringement. I did not buy a bootleg. This is the actual DVD set. But, pardon me, I've got a little bit of an itch in my eye. I know you can't really tell, but I am wearing glasses under here. But this series, I actually got drawn into this series through the movie that they used to show on the Stars channel. And what they did in that movie was they took 3 of the main plot points of this series and pretty much just gave those 3 plot points their own story. But the story is actually so much deeper. It centers around the 2 main characters, which are Ella Ragu and her brother Gaori. Now, I know that seems a little weird, but they actually get their own names. Ella Ragu is the Saval, and Gao is called the Black Howling. First off, that is just a freaking awesome name. I would love to have the name Gao the Black Howling, just because it sounds so important, you know? On that note, this is basically a martial arts anime. Martial arts animes have come a long way from what they were originally. Originally, martial arts animes were basically over the top, just absolutely crazy fighting animes. And they, like, take Dragon Ball, for example. Dragon Ball was over the top before over the top was cool. And that's fine and everything, but sometimes you want to see that it's not about the Kamehameha and the special beam cannon and all that sort of shit. Sometimes it's more subtle. In this, it's all about technique. They're not just, oh, there's magic in it. Don't get me wrong. There are spells in this sword and sorcery style fighting anime. But here's the thing. That's a school of martial arts to them. The main school of martial arts that runs the country that they're in, the country of Karuta, is a group called the Shadow Skills. And the Shadow Skills use their bodies. They use special incantations on themselves, essentially, to raise their body's potential. First off, it's not 12 episodes of somebody sitting there looking like they're getting ready to take a dump. I know there's videos on YouTube that are parodying that all over the place, but I'm sorry. Goku in every single solitary episode of Dragon Ball Z that he's powering up looks like he's trying to take the hardest dump in the world. He looks like he just ate 20 pounds of beef and he's just trying to push that shit out like it's thunder. But Shadow Skill, in and of itself, if you ever get the chance to see it, I highly recommend it. It's one of my personal favorites, just because it's one of the key animes that kind of got me into watching anime on an adult level. It's not kiddie by any stretch. The series is a little bit more toned down for, I guess you could say, for kids. But it's still pretty adult. It's one of those I wouldn't play around the kids until they're about maybe 14, 15 years old. And try to explain to them what's going on. Watch it yourself first, because it's freaking phenomenal. But moving on. Next, I'm going to kind of censor this cover a little bit because it is kind of risque, is Elfin Lead. And I'll turn it on its end there so you can actually see the title a little bit better. This is Elfin Lead. Now, for those of you who have seen a lot of other anime reviewers, they usually put this on their list. And it's because it's such a good idea for an anime. You have the girl who is basically an evolving form of humanity. Sorry, had to take a deep breath there. But she's an evolving form of humanity who has these vectors, these invisible hands that allow her to basically dismember people and to grab people from a distance, and she can just do whatever. And there are males in the species that they don't have vectors, but they envy the women because they do have vectors. And then there's 50 million different things that are going on in this one series. And I think what really makes this work is the dynamic between the characters. I mean, first off, it's beautifully animated, beautifully drawn. I think this was right around the time when hand-drawn anime was beginning to die and digital anime was starting to show up. But I would say you really couldn't tell what was digitally drawn and what wasn't in this. I mean, it's very artistic that way, and the characters have very smooth lines and very, very strong presences. This is one of those, if you haven't seen it yet, what's wrong with you? You honestly should see this. This is almost a must for an anime fan. Just basically, Elfin Lead Go out. If you can't buy it, rent it. If you can't rent it, stream it, but do something to at least see this once. And I'll say at least see it once, because granted, upon repeat viewings, the premise kind of wears thin. But then again, that happens with just about any series that you watch consistently, save for my top one. And that one I'll get to here in just a minute. But Elfin Lead, my number 3, definitely give it a look-see. Okay, moving right along here. Moving right along. I know, I'm acting silly. I honestly shouldn't. I'm not very good at it. But we're going to move on to Outlaw Star. Outlaw Star is Cowboy Bebop for kids. This takes place in the universe just before Cowboy Bebop. And anybody who's anybody loves Cowboy Bebop just because it's so complex. I love Cowboy Bebop. Everybody I talk to loves Cowboy Bebop. That's an awesome series. Outlaw Star predates it. And when I say it predates it chronologically. I don't believe it actually predates it in the actual scheme of things. But this is probably this was my favorite series during the initial run of it on Toonami. And I would tune in, I would drop homework immediately and go to the TV if I heard that Outlaw Star was on. And this caused me so much trouble in high school. Oh God. But Outlaw Star, it's of course the story of Gene Starwind and his young protege Jim, and they are just basically trouble solvers. They go out and somebody presents them with a problem and they fix it, and they'll fix just about any problem, But it eventually goes into the main story dealing with an android, a female android named Melfina, that they acquire through some rather hard circumstances. They end up killing off one of my all-time favorite characters, Hilda. I love Hot Ice Hilda. She is probably one of the coolest attitude characters I've ever seen. The only other one who I think is just as cool as she is, surprisingly enough, and this may shock a lot of people, is Jim. Because he's still a little kid at heart, but at the same time, he still is more mature than Gene Starwind. And I will admit, I'm not a huge fan of Gene. Oh, he's a decent character, don't get me wrong, but I'm not his hugest fan. I prefer the characters around Gene. People like Aisha Clan. Oh my God, we've got a cat girl in this, and she is funny. If anything, watch this show for the quintessential beach episode, or the quintessential spa episode, I will say, because every anime of this style has a quintessential beach or spa episode. And the reason why I say that is just to see Gene Starwind go through all the trouble that he goes through just to get 2 castor shells. This guy gets knocked into the women's bath, into the alien women's bath, into a magma spa bath. And then he does all this just to get a video of a woman in her underwear. All that trouble just to do that. so he can trade it for 2 caster shells. That's freaking comedy gold. And I won't say that every episode of this is funny, because a lot of the episodes aren't. A lot of the episodes are actually pretty serious, and they take themselves very seriously. But sometimes you just gotta have that little bit of comedy thrown in just to enjoy. So, Outlaw Star, highly recommend trying to find this particular DVD box if you can find it. It's the Outlaw Star The Perfect Collection box set. Has every episode on 3 neat little DVDs. If I'm understanding correctly, there's over final episode disc is 26 episodes. These are all a half hour long, so you could actually watch these an hour a day and get a lot of story out of them. Outlaw Star, my number 2 pick for anime. On my shelf currently. But now we come to number 1. I'm going to explain number 1 first before I pick it up, because you'll probably figure out what it is before I even pick it up. Number 1 is the quintessential harem anime. Yes, I'm going to hold up a harem anime as number 1. Now, this anime kind of set the standard for what a harem anime is. It's about a guy who's thrown into a situation where he is surrounded by beautiful women. And all of them, in some way, shape, or form, want him. And they want to be with him, and they want to use him for this, that, or the other. And it's just freaking awesome. I probably don't need to say it before I even pick it up, but my pick for top 1 on my shelf right now is the Tenchi Muyo series. Yes, Tenchi is awesome. I will never stop praising Tenchi. And this that I have in my hand is actually the 3 original series. That is Tenchi in Tokyo, which was the sequel series, the final sequel series of the original series. Tenchi Universe, which was the original television series in Japan. It was released after the OVAs here in the US, strangely enough. And they showed it on Toonami after the original OVAs. And then, of course, we have the OVAs and the movies right here. So I've literally got in my hand almost 3 or 4 days worth of anime goodness right here. And I'm not going to hold up the box too much, because this, you honestly have to be here to see a lot of it. There's some nice box art here, but there's fantastic box art on the other side. Each side has its own unique box art, and it really pops. And I don't just recommend this, because I actually have pretty much the entire Tenchi Muyo universe on my shelf right now. To go in order, if we're going to follow it in order, we're going to go with Tenchi Universe. Then you have Tenchi in Tokyo. Then you have the Tenchi Muyo OVA series. Now, this is what spawned all the subsequent Tenchi Muyo series. That is Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki, which is the sequel series to the Tenchi OVAs. Then you have Tenchi Muyo GXP, which is the sequel series to Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki. Then you have, now this is the latest one. I say latest because it's not over with. Then you have Tenchi Muyo War on Gemini. I unfortunately do not have this one on DVD. I have been watching it on stream though lately on Hulu Plus. Highly recommend Hulu Plus if you have it. It's where you can learn about all kinds of new anime, new animation shows, new TV, old TV, all that, this, that, and the other. So, hey, Hulu gave you a plug. But getting back to my point, the reason I love Tenchi Muyo is because it's always funny. They were the ones who originally threw this poor guy into his situation, and they just keep on keeping the theme alive for it. Well, I would love to go on a little bit more ad nauseum about this, but my camera is currently giving me the nasty little "your battery's running low" logo. So, just saying, those are my top 5 animes. If you like this, if you like my top 5, definitely leave me a comment down below. If you didn't like my top 5, tell me your top 5, and I'll be glad to see if I can review those and see if we can do something similar to this. I enjoy doing the top 5, even if nobody else does. I would like to point out I do not own the rights to any of these. I'll say that on video so that none of the evil copyright gods will attack me. But one thing I will say is that according to the Fair Use Act, me reviewing your anime basically gives me the right to show it, but I'm not going to use video clips. I'm just using what I own, which is the actual DVDs. I won't show clips from your animes. I won't use any of the music from them. I'm just showing the box art, and I'm showing it because I love your stuff. So don't be pissy about it just because I'm not making any money. I'm doing this for my own enjoyment. Getting back to the goodbyes and the credits. So that was my newest review. If you like it, leave me a comment below. If you didn't like it, leave me a comment below. If you're going to troll, just please don't troll. Trolling's not fun for people like me. I'm not going to beg anymore. If you're going to troll, you're going to troll. There's nothing I can do about that. But just understand that nobody thinks you're funny. And nobody thinks I'm funny. Apparently. But what the hell? This is basically me doing what I enjoy doing. So, that's Venomsamurai here, and we'll see you on the next video.